out what is the highest perfect square it can divide by. If you don't find the largest one, it's not a big deal. You can still keep going. Find the largest perfect square that divides evenly. So if you get decimals or fractions, it doesn't work. Wow. Okay. We're going to go through these examples pretty fast because I know you should have learned this before. I'm sorry, my handwriting there is terrible. Okay. Find the largest perfect square that divides evenly. If you don't find the largest one, it's not a big deal. We'll talk about that in a second. But you at least got to find something that divides evenly, a perfect square. Again, we're talking about 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, etc. Let's go to square root of 45. What is the perfect square? Look at your list on the front if you need to. What's the perfect square that 45 divides by evenly? 9. And so we're going to write this. It's helpful if you put the perfect square in front, like put it first. So this breaks up into 9 times 5, which gives you 45. You can break that up into 2 square roots. 45 divided by 6.
Yeah, I thought it had to be the same number.
So here's what I'm asking. I'm asking what perfect square can this divide by? I'm not asking what's the square root of this. Right, so we're going to break up this square root into smaller pieces. It's a good question. Because if you just took the square root, you get a decimal, and I don't want you to do that. Okay, what's the square root of 9? 3. So it's going to be, we're just going to use the positive one. It's going to be 3 root 5. So your perfect square divided by was 9, and so you take that square root, that goes out in front. We're doing, instead of 9, is 10 a perfect square? It is not. So you can't do 10. So remember, the perfect squares are the larger numbers. 10 times 10 gives me 100. 100 is that perfect square. So 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49. Those are your perfect squares. Let's go to square root of 200. What's the perfect square that 200 can divide by evenly?
100 times 2.
100. Yep. So we're going to split it up into 100 times 2. I'll put 100 first, because that just makes it a little bit easier. You can break up the square root into 2 square roots. Square root of 100 times the square root of 2. What is the square root of 100? 10. We'll just use a positive one. So it is 10 root 2. The reason we're just going to use positives is because we're going to be talking about side lengths for the next several weeks. And so side lengths can only be positive. Okay, we're going to do one more. That 3 in front matters, but we are simplifying root 50. What's the perfect square that 50 can be divided by evenly? 25. So we write it as, keep that 3 out in front. 25 times 2 gives me 50. You can split that up into 2 square roots. 3 times the square root of 25 times the square root of 2. What is the square root of 25? 5. So you have to write it as 3 times 5 root 2. It's not 35 root 2. Now multiply those numbers in front. Your final answer would be 15 root 2.